Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to a beautiful episode of the Good Leader Podcast. I'm excited. It's in beautiful downtown Muskogee, Oklahoma, coming at you live. We have, it's a wonderful day out there. The groundhog said it was going to be an early spring. Didn't know it was going to be this early. Kind of right here, right now,
so.
right?
I love that.
Do you really?
I do.
Yeah, both of you are really like bring on the spring.
I'm a spring guy.
I am not interested in the winters in the Midwest.
No. Well,
It's
I know
just fake.
you lament missing out on your,
I do.
upstate New York, 500-acre apple orchard winter.
Beautiful trees.
Beautiful snow. Like it means something, you
Yeah.
know? It's not like you're cold and there's no reason.
Indiana was a little bit like that.
Yeah. It's like here it's like you're cold and there is nothing beautiful about it.
Oh, no. And there's nothing fun. It's not like,
There's nothing
we'll
fun,
get a
nothing
snow day.
beautiful.
We'll get to go sledding.
It's just
We'll
gray.
go ice skating. It's just
gray.
dread.
And the thing about the fall is you get colored leaves for like a couple weeks.
Maybe. This is like
If
the
that,
longest fall.
yeah.
I felt like this fall actually dragged on a good amount.
It was a little bit better.
Typically
which
it's
I'm
like
thankful for.
7 days.
Yeah.
I do like the falls around here. Maybe that's just nostalgic for me, though, because I'm from here. So
But I was about
I'm
to say,
from
but you
here.
also don't know any different.
I don't. No.
So it's like fall is fall.
Right. But kind of. Yeah, for me. I see what you're saying. Yes, definitely. But anyway.
Not to discount your experience.
You kind of did,
You
but
know?
that's okay. I was like, well, okay.
I was like,
that's
no,
all right.
like
You know
that's
what?
it's all you know.
Yeah, but you
Today,
don't
this
know
is
anything.
great because we're going to talk
You
all
don't
about
know
origin
anything.
stories. We're talking about origin stories today and the Pygmalion effect. And I am from rural Oklahoma, and the Pygmalion effect is something we're going to talk in length after the break. But it's basically you get what you expect, and what are you calling out in people? And thank you, Anj, for shutting me down. I appreciate that.
I didn't.
Tell
I was
us
actually
about-
trying
tell
to
us about
credit
your
your
ex-
experience.
Tell us about your experience. Well, you suck. All right, let's go to someone else's
Yeah, you
experience.
don't know a thing about
your
that.
childhood was terrible. You don't really know fall.
That's not at all what I
that's
meant.
not real fall. Well, I kind of think it's my favorite season. Well, you don't know any different. Wow,
That is
okay.
not. I meant it
Okay,
in a
that's-
positive light.
Well,
Like that
I
makes
felt-
sense. That makes sense to me in my mind. Is what I was
yeah.
trying to say.
well, Lim, did you feel the positivity?
Not so much.
Okay, all right, good. I feel like Lim is a more objective person than me. I can wear my feelings on my sleeve.
Yeah.
But that's good. Okay. Well, this is
I
great.
could talk
This
more
is
about it, but I
exactly
won't.
Great. A few weeks ago, we talked about the power of language.
Yep.
On the Good Leader Podcast, we try to learn a lesson from just about everything we have. So right here, if you're a leader in authority, don't underestimate your words. Do not underestimate what you're speaking into people's lives, because that's what we're talking about today. Not just the power of language, but origin stories. So I asked the crew here, what's your favorite origin story? What's your favorite origin story? Could be literally anything. When I say origin story, my first connotation is superheroes.
Yeah.
Now,
That was mine too.
Okay, I'm nerdy about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm all in. By the way, okay, hold on. I don't know if I'd put this in the inspiration zone. Do we have inspiration zone music? Do we have official music yet? I don't know.
right here.
Oh,
You
well,
ready?
you know what? Then let's try it. Let's throw it to the inspiration zone. Okay. All
Not
right,
bad.
I'm popping. I really like our 1980s vibe
Yeah,
with
it's
our
very-
music.
Hey,
I
80s
like
is
it. I
part
do
of the
like it.
greatest.
Talk about a great origin story, 1981. Jared Anthony Murr. No big deal.
Oh my god.
That's
I
probably
do.
my favorite
Wow.
origin story.
I was born in the
Take
90s.
off the inspiration zone. Rewind that
It
music.
inspired
Play
me.
it back.
Okay, here we go.
I did have a real
just
one.
kidding.
I did have a real one.
Okay,
No.
what's your real one?
No, this is the inspiration zone / origin story. I am a Marvel fan, huge, and they've had some tough times lately. If you're a follower of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, really we're moving all the way. We are skybound all the way through Endgame. The last few installments, all these shows, people have been giving a hard time.
Yeah.
The most recent theatrical release was The Marvels. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I have gone to the movie theater and watched almost every single Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And I'm running out of fandom here. Like,
Yeah.
I've been committed to you, and I'll probably watch the Marvels, but I didn't go, and I didn't go out of my way to go. You know what? Shame on me. It was awesome.
Was
The
it?
Marvels is amazing.
Oh, that's good to know.
Oh, man. I
was
kidding,
expecting it
Anj.
not to be great, honestly.
And I even heard not good things. I heard like, well, it didn't do very well at the box office. But then I didn't hear much rave review. It's awesome. It stars now. Hey, girl power. We could talk about.
I know.
female
I did see
empowerment.
that. I wanted to watch it actually for that. I should have.
You should have.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Hey, if we're gonna support ladies, we got to support ladies. You know what I mean? It's like we talked about a couple weeks ago. I love supporting ladies. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
You know, I love the
Absolutely.
ladies. Good job, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel. The other one I don't even
I
think
think
has a
it's
name
because
yet.
the Captain Marvel was so unimpressive to me, even though it did.
Well, Brie
star-
Larson has dead eyes as a superhero. She's very emotionless the entire
Yeah.
time. It's hard for me to really get behind her.
Sure.
I will say her eyes softened a little bit in this
Okay.
one. She's got some life in those eyes in this one. She's getting better.
Okay.
Okay. Not like Brie Larson's really hurting for acting jobs.
No.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I don't think she's that great of an actress. So Brie Larson did not really inspire me, but the movie
Okay.
did. Kamala Khan, I don't know that young lady's name. That's the character's name. She's phenomenal. So I'm inspired again.
Okay.
I don't know what this has to do with Inspiration Zone other than I really liked the movie.
It's a great movie.
It's great. The origin story. Kamala Khan is the character name of Miss Marvel, who's like the teenage kid.
Got it.
Who
Okay.
is like infatuated with Captain Marvel as a superhero. Anyway, she plays the teenage like comic relief
Yeah.
really well, like Spider-Man, kind of how Spider-Man was in Endgame.
Yeah.
Same vibe. So she's great. I just want to put it out there. If you've been holding off, if you've been cold on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or you're looking for an entry point, great entry point. If you're
Okay.
like, because I hear that a lot too. Well, there are 27 movies
Yeah.
that The Marvels is a great movie just to sit down and watch, especially if you got a girl, you got a daughter in your house, watch The Marvels. You know what? Why am I being sexist, Anj?
I wasn't gonna say
If you got
anything.
a boy in your house and you want to teach them how to respect women and not underestimate their abilities,
All right.
watch The Marvels.
I didn't know if you saw the fire in my eyes, but I was like, okay, yeah. With boys too, you could watch it. But you got yourself.
Well, as
I know.
a male, I'm watching it and endorsing it.
I know.
I
I
will
know.
say, I mean, hey, you know
You'd
what?
watch it with Everett.
I would, definitely. But representation matters.
It does.
So if I was going to rank them, I'm like, Jocelyn, you got to see this movie. Adelaide, you got to see this movie. Everett,
you're joining.
You too, you're joining
Yeah,
in.
come on.
But it is very specifically well done, I believe.
Cool.
It's just great. It's a fun movie. So there you go. That's my inspiration zone. Unplanned, unchecked. But we're talking about origin
good
stories
to know.
today. The Marvels, they got some great origin stories there. What's your favorite origin story? You guys have one?
I have one.
What is it?
As a kid, I was fascinated with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh. Oh, wow. Okay.
I did have to look up the origin story.
Deep literature, ref.
Because, I think they had like a children's version that I read
Sure.
that I liked. So it was based on a man who was from Edinburgh, upper society, was caught, tried, and hanged for serial theft. So I guess that was the inspiration.
Oh.
And it says Jekyll, he was a doctor. He developed a serum in an attempt to mask this hidden evil. But in doing so, he ended up accidentally transforming himself into this hideous creature who did terrible things.
Mr. Hyde. Now, hold up. I'm very familiar with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the character and the idea in the book. But are you saying there was a real life in Edinburgh? There was a real life serial thief that they based, that the author based it on? Oh, that's
what
cool.
It says. It was
Really?
inspired by it.
Who
So
wrote it? Is it like it's not Arthur Conan Doyle? He wrote
that? I
Sherlock
don't know.
Holmes.
We'll have to look.
Anyway, wow. Okay, wow.
I didn't
Lim
know
went
that.
deep. He went the origin of the inspiration of the story. Well done, Lim.
This is funny,
Well done.
but in fourth grade, I remember specifically, I was reading the children's version of it, and I finished it, and I said, I think I told my teacher, hey, this was a good book. And she said, yeah, that's what you are. And I was like, what? Like, she called me Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with no context. And I was just, I knew it was an insult. I don't know why.
Seems
Picking
like
up
an
on the
insult.
insult.
So this
here,
little
Teach.
fourth grade mind, I'm like, what in the world? So anyways, funny story.
Well, that's
So you
actually-
were like, well, I'm going to own it.
It's actually great for the Pygmalion effect.
I guess.
sure
I don't
is.
Because that's
know.
what we're going to talk about completely, but the Pygmalion effect is pretty deep. And the idea behind it, we'll get the clinical definition. Lemuel will get us the clinical definition because he's really good at finding those types of things. But the Jared Murr impression is basically Pygmalion is this idea that you get what you expect out of people. And especially when you start calling it out in people. And that's where we're going to go today. That's why origin stories are so important. Aren't you got an origin story here that was coming to mind?
Wonder Woman was the first thing that came to mind.
Great
'cause
answer.
It's classic.
Love Wonder Woman.
I'll be honest, my real one lately is actually Jessica Simpson.
Oh,
I know. I went left. I mean,
Well,
Lim
I
took
did
it
not
this
know
way,
where y'all were going to
and
go
I
with
took
this.
it that way.
Y'all, we have a lot of origin stories here. Okay.
I think a lot of it is because I'm reading her memoir right now.
Oh, okay.
So
Is it good?
It is. I did not. She has had a hard life.
She has.
And I did. I mean, I knew bits and pieces, but I'm like, wow, you just had
Wow.
to think that you had the confidence to still be on stages and do what you did. I think that takes like Wonder Woman is like the fantasy origin story for me.
Okay.
But Jessica Simpson was like the, wow, like you can do hard things. Like you're
Yeah.
just a human doing hard things. So that's kind of my origin story at the moment. That's pretty inspiring.
Did
but
y'all watch-
wow, yeah, hard life.
Did y'all watch The Newlyweds?
Yeah. Oh, I used to love the show.
Yeah.
That was one that I did
I was
watch.
actually kind of into that show.
They were pretty, and
they're
she
like
is
my age, basically.
She
So-
is so good at like playing the dumb card. I'm like, I
Yes.
know you're not dumb.
I
You're
know.
like actually so smart that you're allowing this to be.
Mhm.
But even the amount of like marketing, I guess, that she
Yes.
generated just pretending to be dumb. I was like,
Absolutely.
man, you really
Wow,
took
that's
that
cool.
female card and ran with it.
Chicken of the sea. Chicken
Yeah,
of the sea.
but then you hear her story and I'm like, gosh, wow.
Oh, I need to read the
So
book.
anyway,
it's
it
interesting.
was
All
really
right.
good.
I've got an origin story, and the reason that I wanted to ask you this question because I loved this one. Club Med. Okay, are y'all familiar with Club Med? Scale of 1 to 5. How familiar are you with Club Med? Never heard of it till today. I brought it up in Okay, one.
Well, I was going to say 1.
Well, I don't know how popular it is now. I remember as a kid in the 80s wanting to go to Club Med, like seeing it on TV. It's basically an all-inclusive resort. I'm pretty sure they're still open. I don't know. Let me check this for
Yeah,
us.
I looked them up.
Okay.
They've got their beachside dreams, spring and summer are 40% off. So
3%
you're
off.
ready.
This episode brought to you by Club Med.
kids, hey, check this out. Kids under 4 stay free.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's actually
Hey,
interesting.
y'all might check that out.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
she's
Wow.
3 now, so I might need to go.
Oh.
I have a 5-year-old, so that sucks. But the 2-year-old,
Well, you could leave him with.
I will say,
sorry, we're just taking your your little brother.
wow. Talk about
You missed the
Pygmalion
cutoff.
effect origin stories. My parents used to leave me alone. They took my little brother on vacation, but not me.
Separation anxiety.
Here's the cereal.
Now, here's the cereal and a jug of milk. You got a week. Now, Club Med is really cool. And what is cool, actually, I do think they have like family all-inclusive resorts in the United States, which is pretty rare.
That's cool.
Most of the time, if you go to an all-inclusive, you have to go international. But anyway, Club Med, here's the origin story. This is great. It was according to my research, it was the world's first all-inclusive resort.
The
world's first.
Oh,
So
wow.
when did we start all-inclusive resorts? Club Med. Gerard Blitz was born in Antwerp to a religious Jewish family of diamond dealers with a passion for water sports. When the Nazis invaded Belgium in 1940, the Blitz family escaped to the south of France, where he joined the French resistance. After the war, Gerard switched from fighting to helping Holocaust survivors return to life. The trauma that most survivors experienced made getting reacclimated impossible. After visiting a refugee camp on Alisuda Beach in the Spanish Mediterranean island of Malacora, Blitz noticed that the survivors of this camp did better than others. This gave him an idea. What if he created a water sport vacation resort for Holocaust survivors? So he rented part of the beach. Lacking the funding to build anything, he decided that as part of the experience, guests of the resorts would be hosted in tents. But he couldn't afford those. So he turned to the manufacturer of the tents for the French military, which was currently run by Gilbert, the youngest member of the Jewish Trigano family. Gilbert was an Algerian actor and comic who was banned from performing and forced to flee when the Nazis invaded. Okay, so you got 2 gentlemen who had to flee from Nazi Germany,
Wow.
and now they're trying to help Holocaust survivors. Not only did he fall in love with Gerard's idea, this is Gilbert, the tent maker, he proposed a unique partnership. During the day, Gerard would heal the survivors with water sports. And at night, Gilbert would soothe their souls with humor and dancing, because he was an actor. The Trigano family would, of course, provide the tents. But to make it even easier for guests, Gilbert also recommended that the resort be all-inclusive, with the food and the lodging provided and no extra costs. Gerard agreed, and in 1950, the two created a nonprofit organization in France called Club Mediterranean. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
So the very first all-inclusive holiday didn't include running water, electricity, or private rooms. It was Holocaust survivors on a beach in tents.
Wow.
Wow.
That's cool.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
So
And
Club Med-
nonprofit too.
Nonprofit. So Club Med
They're mainly
is actually
for-profit now.
started. Yes, but it started out as Club Mediterranean.
Wow.
So if you're listening out there and you're familiar with Club Med, like I was in the '80s, watching these commercials, seeing all these cool things happening, and not getting to attend, I just thought Club Med. I didn't know what it meant. I thought medicine, like healing for the soul, but no, it's Club Mediterranean.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I didn't know
Fun
that.
origin story. When we get back from the break, we are going to talk about more origin stories and the origin stories that you are creating for others with the Pygmalion effect.
Do you have a youth? Do you have a student in a tribal community who would love to learn, grow, and expand their leadership? Specifically in that world, we are offering a Tribal Youth Summit. This will take place in the month of June. You can fill out an application and select one student from each tribe in order to come to this free youth summit that we are providing to expand youth's leadership, development, and growth. Check out our website at ps.company/tribal youth to learn more.
Love it, love it, love it. That's one of my passion projects. If you were listening to the wonderful commercial, check it out. Go to ps.company, or you could just Google up Paradigm Shift Tribal Youth Summit. It is our Tribal Youth Summit. I cannot emphasize enough. This is for students of any Native American descent who want to grow in their leadership. It's an absolutely free conference. We work with tribes all across the country, and this is a way for us to give back. It's also a way for us to invest in outstanding tribal youth leaders. So check it out. We want to fill there are limited spots. I don't even want to say a number because I don't know how many spots are remaining, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But check it out. Sign up. If you are working for a tribe, please connect us to your educational leaders because we have a lot of incredible events happening, specifically this one this summer. All right. Speaking of origin stories, there you go. Who knows? Somebody comes to the Tribal Youth Summit, they get inspired. They're the first Native American president of the United States, something like that.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Sounds like a really
It all
cool
connects.
thing. I want to
Bucket
go.
list. It is a really cool thing. Are you Native American?
I'm not.
Ah,
So I can't.
I'll let you. Hey, you want to record it? Videography?
Yeah, let's do it.
Boom, you heard it. Volunteered services, appreciate the nonprofit. All right, so that's awesome. We have other origin stories today talking about the Pygmalion effect. Now, Pygmalion effect, okay, what I love about this, the word Pygmalion, okay, once again, let's go, scale, fist to 5. When I said Pygmalion, we're gonna talk about the Pygmalion effect today, scale of fist to 5. Lim was like a 1, Anj,
That's actually like a 4.
like a 4? Okay,
Yeah, I've heard of
what's
this.
your reference? What's your connotation to it? Because I have mine.
I
What's
always
yours?
think of this isn't like what it means, but when I think about like that effect, I think of the quote, people rise to the lowest level that you set, the lowest standard you set. So people rise to the lowest standard you set.
All right.
Essentially, it's like always this quote I heard, and I've always associated it with, I learned about that in my communication classes,
Yeah.
So I just always thought, oh, it's like the Pygmalion effect.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Doesn't talk
absolutely
about the
fantastic.
highest, but does talk about the lowest.
No. I think of 1999's classic, She's All That. That's
Sure.
what I go to.
Yeah.
Lim, I don't know if you know this connection, but She's All That, 1999 movie. Have you seen it, Lim?
I have not.
Have you seen it on? Starring Freddie Prinze Jr. and
Yeah.
what was her name? Jennifer Lee Cook?
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Pretty sure that's her.
I think so.
Pretty
yeah,
sure
that
that's
sounds
her.
right. Yeah.
So anyway, she was the girl and Freddie's the boy. But anyway, the idea of that movie actually traces its origins all the way back. If you go a little bit further, you see this trope in movies like Pretty Woman. You take this, typically a girl, sometimes they flip the script, but usually it's a woman who is either viewed as ugly or she is unworthy in some way. She's down and out, and then transforming her into this attractive beauty that everyone falls in love with. That's
yes.
She's All That.
Like my big fat Greek wedding.
Like my big, you know what? Didn't even think of that one. We
Yep.
put that one on the list. They're all over the place. Once
They
you
are.
start
Yeah.
looking for it, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding. That's perfect. She's All That. Pretty Woman. You go back a little bit further. My Fair Lady is probably the most
Sure.
well-known one, starring Audrey Hepburn.
Yep.
But then you take it a step further back, talking about origin stories. 1913, George Bernard Shaw had a play called Pygmalion. There was then like a 1950s or 60s movie called Pygmalion. Then My Fair Lady really took it over the top. Then all of the ones that we've had. The actual origin, Pygmalion, is like a Greek myth, and where it's this. I could get this wrong. Lemuel, this is where you're really good at facts like this, but I can't remember if the sculptor is named Pygmalion or his. Anyway, this sculptor, Greek mythological sculptor, sculpted this beautiful statue, and he essentially falls in love with the statue. He is sickened by, he
Yes.
sees like all that's wrong with the world and women in the world, and he's sickened by that. So he basically becomes celibate and focuses his attention to build this
Yes.
statue. But then once he builds the statue, he really falls in love with the statue. He essentially treats the statue like it's a human. And then eventually Aphrodite grants his prayer/wish and turns that statue into a human. So this idea that I'm taking this thing and transforming it into something else. Now we can get really crazy with all that, but I do believe in the idea of transformation.
Yeah.
And as we talk today about the Pygmalion effect, I really want to see if you've seen that in your life, and a couple of different ways. Now, I liked when we were doing the pre-show that you all took it a little different direction than me. So I really just want to end this with some leadership ideas, because this is just all theoretical today. We don't have a lot of practical how-tos, 1, 2, 3, here's the formula. But I do believe conceptually that this is a powerful idea. Like, what's the quote you just shared? Let's share that again, Anj, and dive into that for a moment.
People rise to the lowest standard you set.
People rise to the lowest standard you set. How have you seen that play out in your leadership experience?
Oh, man.
Or interpret that idea
Yeah.
for us a little bit.
I think for me, that's where clear communication and accountability, like those are fluffy words you say a lot in leadership, you know?
Yep.
But some of those quotes or like these ideas are what make that very practical to me. So it's the question I ask myself of, if I'm frustrated with someone, what kind of standard have I actually set? If I'm frustrated that somebody is not arriving on time, but I have set a standard where we can all come whenever we want, do I even have a right to be upset? They are rising to the lowest standard, essentially, that I have set for them, for me, for our team, whatever. That's like an easy example.
Yeah, that's good.
But honestly, it influences a lot of, like, I would say, my expectations for other people, and myself as well, because whatever you do sets an expectation. But I'm always looking at it through the lens of, like, what is the bare minimum I have asked for them?
Okay.
And maybe that's why I'm a little harder on people, as we joke about, because I do believe the bare minimum of what I ask for people is what most will rise to.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And I think the Pygmalion effect, to really split hairs, I think the Pygmalion effect would be, are you reinforcing that not just by creating standards, but also by what you're speaking into people and assuming of people and calling out? Like, in other words, if then someone is late and you are not surprised by that, and you reinforce that by telling them, not creating clarity, but saying like, hey, Cade's finally here. Oh, sorry, Cade. Didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Freudian slip. But, somebody's finally here. You're finally here. Oh, this person is here. Look. Okay. And I expect that, versus I'm shocked that you are late. And the way that you treat that person is different based on your subconscious bias or biases. And that subconscious biases then creates the Pygmalion effect.
Yeah. And the standard they rise to. Well, I'm just known
then
for being
where
late.
Yes, I'm known for being late. I guess I'll be late.
Yep.
So there's this idea, and you can Google this up. There's a really cool schematic that really shows like your beliefs. It's like, imagine like a 360-degree schematic, like a full circle starting at the top. Your beliefs influence your actions, which influence their actions, or which influence their beliefs, which influence their actions. And then their actions reinforce or change your beliefs. I know that was a lot. And most of us are not auditory learners. Learners? Sorry. When I was a boy, I had a speech impediment, and every once in a while it sneaks in. We are learners in different ways. Not many of us are auditory learners. And so I encourage you to Google it up, the Pygmalion effect diagram. You laughing at a poor kid with a speech impediment?
I'm trying to recover.
Wow. Oh, it's really laughing at me.
I'm not laughing at your speech impediment, which, by the way, I know is real. He's not making fun of people.
I'm not making that up. No,
we should
most
say that.
Definitely had
He's
a
making
terrible
fun of
speech
himself.
impediment when I was a child.
It was just that you kept going.
Well, but I encourage you then to look up the diagram, because it will make sense, especially what Andre's saying in connecting these two ideas. Lim, then let's throw in what your quick interpretation was. I like the phraseology you used in addition to this.
What did I say? I can't remember.
I believe you said people rise to the expectations or something like that.
My initial thought about it was more internal. So I'm expecting something of myself. And I guess
I like that. Yeah, it works internally too.
The visuals that you described are how we look was what I first thought about. So the phrase, dress for success, or, Joanna and I were watching a show the other day, and she's like, man, that lady looks tragic. And I said, no, I don't think it's how she looks. I think it's her hairdo. So then we went and looked her up, and she was actually a beautiful lady, but the way that she dressed.
Wow. Was it She's All That? There's a movie.
No, it was a different. It was
My Big Fat Greek Wedding. A couple movies.
Show. Anyways, so I thought about it at first with, the concept of dressing for success. I know that's probably a dumbed down version of the concept.
I wouldn't call it a dumbed down version. I do think it's an element. I think it's a piece. And I think that idea, I think that actually is probably the outer layer of the way then people perceive on the way you're dressing. Is that fair? Probably not. Like, She's All That. I think the lesson in all of these things are, at least the modern interpretations are, all of these surface level coverings aren't necessarily at the heart of the issue, but the way that you interpret or the way that you treat the outside is, or the way that we treat people is affected by the outside.
Sure.
So you might say like, oh, what does it matter what I wear? Well, in one instance, it doesn't. It doesn't change your heart or who you are, your core, but it will change the way I interact with you and my assumptions and my interpretations. So there is that element of the Pygmalion effect of what am I giving off? I'm taking it a whole different direction. And all of these things are true. And I guess let's zoom out for a minute. And the reason we're doing this episode in the Good Leader podcast is to be aware, just like I mentioned in jest with Anj and the power of words and this Pygmalion effect that we can have. Either one, I am subconsciously treating people in a way based on that belief or effect. Like, this person is going to always be late. Therefore, I am treating that way and I'm reinforcing that bad behavior.
Yep.
This person, I believe, will do a great job, and therefore I treat them like that, and therefore they continue to do a great job. So the Good Leader podcast, if you want to be a better leader, start treating people the way you want them to act. Lead up, speak up, lead them forward, bring them up. Even if they are terrible right now, even if they are like, wow, this person is not this type of person, calling out that thing. And I think of a couple of instances once again, from movies that I really like. But Cool Runnings has my favorite Pygmalion effect on this.
I like Cool Runnings.
You like Cool Runnings?
It's one of the movies I can
It's a
say
good one.
that I've seen.
It's good. Well, I'm glad we found one. I love Cool Runnings. It's a fantastic movie about the 1988, I think, Jamaican bobsled team. I'm not sure if it's 88. Might be 84. Anyway.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it might be 84.
80s.
80s. Yeah. Anyway,
One of the teams in
80s,
the 80s.
Jamaican bobsled team. It's on Disney Plus. If you know, and at this point, it's a really old school movie, but it's a good one to go old school. But there's this part where Junior, who plays a very rich, very nice, kind, but pretty intimidated human being. He gets picked on a lot. His name's Junior, and so they're in this bar, and I think it's either the German team or the Swedish team is making fun of him and picking on him and all this kind of stuff. And the other guy, I can't remember his name. They call him Baldy. I don't know. Anyway, big, strong other member of the team who you do not mess with, takes no crap off of anybody. He pulls Junior out of the bar like they're picking on him, and he's basically looking at him like, come on, dude, stand up for yourself. What are you doing? You're making us look bad here. So he pulls him aside. He takes him into the bathroom. They're staring at the mirror. I love this part. You know what part I'm talking about?
I don't.
Oh, Lim.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's
That's
been
okay.
so
It's all
long.
right. It's okay. It's okay.
Just pretend.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Sometimes all I'm looking for is a yep.
Yeah,
You
just
got
pretend.
it. Right on top of that, Rose.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. Yes, I love this part. Keep going, Jared. You tell it, not me.
I'm really excited to
I love
hear
that part,
about
but you tell it because you tell it better. Okay, I'll tell it, Lim. So he takes him in. He's looking at the bathroom, and he says, he looks in the bathroom. That's weird. They're not staring at a toilet. They're staring in the mirror. And he says, tell me what you see. And so Junior looks, and he says, I see Junior. Just like that. And like, he goes, nah. Kind of pushed him a little bit. Tell me what you see. I see Junior. He's like, no. You know what I see? And he cusses a little bit, so we'll keep it G, but one of the few cuss words in the movie. Okay? He says, you know what I see? I see pride. I see power. I see a bad mother who don't take no off of nobody. Then he makes him say it. Now, I won't go through the whole thing.
Sure.
But he says it over and over. I know that some of this stuff, it's just like the positive affirmation thing. And someone can say, like, really? Like, there's another, like, are we really going to do this? Yeah. I really, yes, this stuff really matters. The way you feel about someone affects the way you treat them, and the way you treat them affects the way they behave.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to inspire others by looking for the best and calling out the best. And like this, sometimes he gives him a very direct, yes, pump-up speech, and he makes him say it. He makes him say it like, I see pride, I see power. And he says truth, and then he runs back out in the bar, and it's a great scene, because then he runs out of the bar, and he picks a fight with the whole team. So they end up getting a fight and get beat up. But anyway, he's like, yes, and it gels the team, fired up, Junior's now a stud, all this kind of thing. What do you got, Anj?
I'm thinking of a personal story that, honestly, it's kind of crazy thinking about. I'm having a full circle moment in my life listening to you talk about it now. So we do a lot of public speaking, obviously. Do you know the one thing I didn't want to be, like, all through, up until 18? The
Public
one
speaker.
Crazy, right? It's like I teed you up for that.
You did. See how
But
I did
I
that, Lim?
really, I
was
was
right
like,
there with her.
Yeah,
I was like, boom.
I'll do anything else, but I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Which is
Wow.
so fascinating.
That is
right?
fascinating.
Wow.
Especially given like what I do now.
Yes.
And so I was like, no, like I just will not do that. I'm not good at it. I don't know what all my inner thoughts were, but I was like, no, I will not do that. Great. So that is the story I had about myself. In like college at some point, maybe sophomore year, junior year, something like that, even though I said I do not want to do public speaking, for some reason I majored in communications. That doesn't quite make sense.
Ironic.
I think in my mind, communication was like advertising, marketing. In the school I was at, it is not. It was all public speaking.
Wow.
So I had to take public speaking 1, 2, and 3.
Holy smokes.
And you know what
That's a lot.
changed? Yes, what changed my mind on public speaking was not. Sometimes they say like, if you want to master something, do it repetitively. that was not what made me think like, oh, I could do public speaking now. I distinctly remember I had the same professor all throughout. And maybe in the second class that I was in with her, she pulled me aside and said, you really have like a gift for this. Like you can really catch on to this really quickly if you just let yourself keep doing it, keep learning it, learn from others. And something about that moment, and then another moment where a leader pulled me aside. I was kind of going on a different path in life,
Okay.
rough path. And he just called out the leadership he saw in me that I did not see in myself at the time. Now I'm a college student. I'm a little more moldable than maybe some people that are listening to this podcast now. But I would just say, like, from something I said I would never do to those two people probably changed the trajectory of, number one, my leadership, and then number two, my public speaking. And I didn't even notice at the time till you're like saying it now. But I was like, yeah, that is somewhere deep within me where I got the confidence of like, maybe I'll try it one more time. And the more positive affirmation you get in doing that thing one more time, the more you continue to do it. But they also had to let me fail kind of throughout that as well.
Well, I love what you're saying, because most of the time, in my experience, you won't recognize the Pygmalion moments in your life as they're happening to you.
Right.
Like you won't distinctly go, you won't, when they call that out, when a leader calls that out in you, you're not going to walk out the door and go, wow, that really changed my life. That really inspires me to be a public speaker. I will now change. That's not going to happen. And so as a leader, then, that can be frustrating if you're the one speaking that life into somebody, because it will probably take a lot of time for that actually to catch up. And you might not even reap the rewards.
Wow.
Yep.
But what are you saying to people? Because we can go through, and if you now know the Pygmalion effect, you can probably look back through your life and go, wow, actually there are a couple of moments. Like one moment that I remember, and it doesn't have to be, so if we're looking at some practical tips here or some ideas that we can really wrap our mind around, yes, this idea of Pygmalion effect and how I speak to people and what I'm speaking into people, how does that happen? It doesn't have to be overt or direct. It doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm going to write down, I want so-and-so to show up on time. I will tell them, you really show up on time. No, they don't. They don't show up on time.
Yeah, don't lie.
Don't lie. That's not true. So what does it look like? Well, it can look like what Anj just said. Hey, you're really gifted in this, in that specific area that they don't see. So talk about another area that they're gifted in. Yes, brag on the things that you can brag on. Pull that forward. And if you want to be a little more direct with that and be like, man, you are so exceptional in this, I would love to see you bring that into all your areas of leadership.
Yeah, I can even think of our team members who've done that.
Okay.
And I drastically have seen that come into effect.
You see that change. And you see those types of things. For me, and you can do this with your children. You can do this with your coworkers. You can do this with anybody. I remember when because as children, we are so impressionable. I remember when I was about in 4th grade. This is an agricultural story, which I know that you love, but I did a thing called cattle grading. I'm sure you spent a lot of time cattle grading in your life.
Yeah.
Anj. Cattle grading is where it's a contest. This is fun, Anj. This is good for you because I'm sure they actually had a contest for this. Yes. So we're in a big arena. They'll bring out an animal, a bovine. I hesitate to say cow because it might not be a cow. It could be a calf of some kind. It could be a steer or a heifer. So they bring them in and you grade them. You got a scorecard and you pick like what type of muscling are they graded at, what frame are they graded at, those sorts of things, different categories. Anyway, you grade them out. And you think of, this relates to when you go to the grocery store and you get like grade A prime beef.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I'm tracking.
Think of the verbiage I just used. Grade A prime beef. Okay, I'm on the front end grading this animal before it gets to the meat.
Okay.
Saying like this animal is probably going to grade out. We're projecting that animal is probably going to grade out grade A. That animal is probably going to grade out good, bad, not good, that sort of thing. Okay. I gave you that just for a little public education.
I can't believe I know.
I love it.
You know what?
Does the grade change after that point?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Well, it can. It's just a prediction. So I'm looking at a live animal, but you're predicting it, and that's important for really for pricing, for sorting, for culling, those sorts of things. Do you keep this animal? Like if it's a cow, do you keep her? Do you sell her? Is it time to take her to the slaughterhouse? Those sorts of things. Like is she commercial, utility, cutter, canner, those sorts of things. Anyway, cutters and canners are pretty bad.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But anyway, all that aside, that's kind of things Jared Anthony Murr did with his spare time as a kid. Shaped me into the human I am today.
I bet it did.
I was going to this contest when I was in about fourth, fifth grade, somewhere in there, and only like the top 15 kids would get, or maybe it was like the top, 15 kids, let's say, I think is in that number, we're going to get to go to the actual contest. So it's like a countywide thing. We're all in 4-H. We all participate. I was so nervous leading up to this that I was like, oh man, I really hope I get in the top 15. I really want to go to this contest at the Tulsa State Fair. So I go and I'm there and we're basically like a practice and I'm looking around and there are only like 14 kids there. So I'm like, I'm in. I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, no matter how good or bad I do on this, I'm in. And I remember as soon as we get done practicing, I go over and I tell mom, even before I got my score, I'm in. Like there are only 14 kids. I'm in. I was so pumped. I was so excited. So she relayed this story to a volunteer parent leader. His name was Tony. And Tony said something, talk about the Pygmalion effect. That I guess I recall the story now. So it evidently made an impression. And he said that mom had said he was so worried. Jared was so worried, so nervous about being in the top 15. So I'm so thank you for doing this. And this is great. And Jared's excited. And he said, Jared, you were nervous about being in the top 15? And I said, yeah, I really was. I really want to go. And he said, Jared, he was like, I tell you what, I don't care if there were 200 kids here. I'd bet good money that Jared Murray's going to be in the top 15. Honestly, it was because at that point in my life, I'm just a little shy, dumpy kid. And, coming out of speech impediment. And so it really stuck with me. And that's what we mean by the Pygmalion effect. Speaking something in someone, even like that. It wasn't like this rah-rah speech or whatever, just this comment. And when you are in a leadership position of any ilk, whether it is a parent, whether it is a supervisory role at work, wherever it is, think about the behaviors you are receiving from people or the actions that you're getting, and think about what you're doing, either consciously or subconsciously, to reinforce that behavior. And as we end this day, I just want to empower everyone out there that I say we are all leaders. So even if you're like, I'm not a supervisor, well, guess what? You can have the Pygmalion effect on your supervisor. Are you saying it?
Yeah.
How are you speaking to them? How are you speaking about them to other people? They hear it. They know. So if it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so, she's this and she's that. I hate working here. I hate this. All of those things seep into our real life. So no matter where it is, whether it's leading the people around you, wherever it is, I want you to remember the Pygmalion effect, whether you like the origin story of Club Mediterranean, Wonder Woman, or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You are creating origin stories. You're writing origin stories. Make this day an incredible origin story for you or somebody else. Go out there and be a good leader.